All right, you're welcome back. This is still Joy News. This is still our live coverage of the MPP siege, if you like, of the Yoko head office here in Accra. They are demanding certain things that the Yoko must do, including the fact that they want the MPP Ashanti Regional Chair, Benedict Juwesiakon, also known as Chairman Wontumi, released immediately. Or better still, his bail condition is varied. We will take you live there because my colleagues, Kwaku Asante, parliamentary correspondent, and James Avaye are still there with the MPs themselves are still there. They've taken a position. They say they won't move until their demands are met. It is past 5, almost 6 p.m. And of course, we are waiting to see what action will be taken. What is curious though is that there's been no official communication from Yoko or from government circles regarding what exactly is happening. Remember that Chairman Wontumi was on Monday before CID, where he answered a lot of questions. Now, after that, the statement was issued detailing the reason why he was invited before the CID. 3 key issues. 1, undertaking mining without requisite license. 2, polluting water bodies. And 3, entering forest reserve without authorization. These are the 3 issues that the CID is investigating. The reason why Benedict Juwesiakon met them, he was interrogated and then granted bail. Now, let me bring in Dr. Kenasigbe. Dr. Kenasigbe is a convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. And they were neck deep in bringing the activities of Akonta Mines to the attention of the then president, Nana Akufo-Addo. Eventually, the president, after some kind of investigation, exonerated Akonta Mines. But clearly, the matter did not die there. It's not been resurrected and not taking a life of its own. Mr. Sigbe, good afternoon, good evening, doctor, and welcome to the program. So, first, your advocacy got some attention this week, Monday, when formally CID preferred 3 charges against Chairman Wontumi. 1, undertaking mining without licenses, polluting water bodies, and entering forest reserve without authorization. You think finally some accountability is being done here?
Very much, and I think we need to make a correction. The president did not do any investigation. I had asked him a question at an event where both of us were at, and he's sitting on that platform when then his Minister for Lands and Natural Resources had declared that Akonta Mining did not have the permission to go and do his legal activities in the Tanonime Forest Reserve, when the Forestry Commission itself had also confirmed that, what the minister had said was right. The minister sitting there, answered a different question than I had set for him and said that Akonta Mining was not involved in any illegal mining as we speak. And, the question I asked was not about as we speak. And so we had a petition with the IGP then, all this while, the Media Coalition, again, then myself, lawyer Martin Pebu, Kwame Njusiedu, and Edem Senanu, had sent a petition to this director CID that we were following. And so that petition was live. Before that, the current minister, also with his team, also did their investigation, and the documentary was shown. So definitely for me, the work of the CID and the 3 charges were all out. Because from all that the former Minister for Lands had then stated and the Minerals Commission had confirmed, Akonta Mining Limited were definitely involved in an illegality, and it was important that the arrest be made. And you notice that recently, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey issued, a press statement, decrying why, after all this work that had been done, this arrest has not been made. So it's a good thing that now, and I'm just waiting because we know that he is one of the directors of Akonta Mining Limited. There's a second director as well. I'm hoping he also would be arrested as well. And if they are the CEOs or he is the CEO, then definitely, because there's definitely questions to be answered for the illegality that has been perpetuated, for the harm that has been done, and definitely sinning on Act 995, the Minerals and Mining Act, as amended in 2019.
I do not know what is before the CID, but I mean, from your side, you think there is overwhelming evidence to back this claim?
I think that if you remember, before even the minister came to make those declarations, and this is the minister for the sector, and then you have the regulator for the sector as well. Bear in mind, Erastus had done some work that had shown enough evidence of the fact that there were equipment of Akonta mining that were deep in the Tanonimre Forest Reserve. Also remember that there was altercation between the staff of Akonta Mining and the people of Samraboy over their activities within the Tanonimre Forest Reserve. Also remember that Akonta Mining had a mining lease outside the Tanonimre Forest Reserve, but their activity was also breaching the buffer policy that was there, and the activities were impacting upon the tunnel. So based on what had happened in 2022, there was adequate evidence to support the points that were made by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. I know for a fact that the Forestry Commission itself, beyond what the Minerals Commission had said, the Forestry Commission had also done some investigation and had established activity of Akonta mining within the Tanonimre Forest Reserve. And definitely that sends clearly against the Minerals and Mining Act, because the person who would have given the mining, signed the mining lease to Akonta Mining had then declared that the man did not, the company did not have the mining lease. The regulatory body that would have overseen that, the Minerals Commission, also confirmed that. So from all of that, the work that has been done by Forestry Commission, by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources then, and then also by the Minerals Commission, and then on top of that, we've had the minister, the current minister also put out a documentary and show evidence. And in any situation like this, you know, the courts are the people who are going to be able to be pronounced guilt or otherwise. But before the court pronounces guilt or otherwise, you would have to go through the legal processes.
Right.
The police would have to arrest, place a charge, you know, and then take the case to court.
I mean, I listened to him after his interrogation at the CID office, where he spoke to the media. It makes the point that at no point did he undertake illegal mining, and that whatever he did was legally sanctioned by the appropriate authorities, that's Minerals Commission and the likes, and that he's got every document to prove that he did not also aid anybody to undertake illegal mining. We know that somewhere last month or early this month, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister called for the cancellation of whatever contract Akonta Mining or whatever licenses Akonta Mining was working with. Obviously, I'm sure that the CID will go to court and then the arguments will start. But from where you sit, I mean, this clearly for some people is a political persecution. But we are also looking at the general good of our environment and future generations. How strong or how far should this fight go?
I don't know how anybody can stretch this as political, you know, vendetta. Bear in mind, the petition that the media coalition took, and our private petitions that we took to the police, was done under the auspices of His Excellency, the former president. The first person who mentioned Akonta Mining of being involved in an illegality was the then Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, who is currently an MP under the MPP. And it was the Minerals Commission then who had said it. So I say that, you know, and again, you know, the interesting thing, crime committed under the Minerals and Mining Act has no time bar. And so definitely there were questions that had to be answered under, you know, what had been committed in 2022. And there are people who are currently languishing in police cells and being taken to court, who are involved in Galamsey. I have not seen anybody also say that those people are, you know, there's a political vendetta against them. We really are under a siege of this Galamsey, and definitely, you know, the people we need to deal with should not only be the people who are in the pit, but we should also be dealing with the politically exposed people, the politically connected people. So for me, I think this is a good beginning. And as I say, as we've started dealing with the directors of Akonta Mining, we should also start calling into all of those people who were mentioned from Professor Frimpong Boateng's report.
Right.
All of those politically exposed people. And not only that, we currently have the NDC MP for our win, having been accused by the traditional authorities of being engaged in the illegality. He claims it is not true. It is rather them. That also there should be some arrest and some investigation taking place. The NDC MP for Axim, constituency chairman for Axim, also has been accused of being involved in an illegality. The NDC constituency chairperson for Dugo as well was seen, confronting legally mandated military people who had been sent. So it is important that this is just the beginning of the politically exposed people, the very influential people who are alleged to be behind this heinous crime that is committed against Ghana, also being called upon. I'm not too sure, what is, Yoko is looking at, but I will not be surprised that once you are engaged in an illegal activity like Galamsey,
right,
the resources out of that could be, an issue of alleged money laundering, which Iyoko could be looking at. But I agree with the members of parliament in one breath that the fact that the bail condition is for justification is the difficulty. Because you see, once they put that justification as a condition, then if you have property, you would have to go to the Lands Commission.
And then verify.
We all know that when you go to the Lands Commission, that could take you almost 2 weeks. And so that would definitely be a difficulty. That for me is the challenge with the bail conditions that have been given. The issue, the need for justification, definitely it's an issue that needs to be looked at, because in all of this, in as much as we are calling for the right thing to be done and people who have sinned against the law to be punished, their human rights are important. The way in which it is done is also very important.
And because you brought in that, obviously my last question, as you put on your social, commentator hat, happy with the way the process is being so far as Wontumi is concerned, and the actions taken by the minority demanding certain things that if these things are not done, they may not even participate in business on the floor anymore.
Again, see, so definitely for me, as I said earlier on, it's important that justice is done and it's seen to be done. But my question I would ask the minority is that the number of Ghanaians who have been arrested for Galamsey, why are they still in parliament? When all of those Galamseyers are arrested, why is it that it is only when they are party member, then they decide to start saying this? Yes, they have the right to make the point about the issue, about if they disagree with it, but they should bear in mind, they are not MPs for only MPP. A person has been arrested, then they decide to do this. And again, this is where for all of us as citizens, it's as if we are in an animal kingdom, and some people are more equal than the other. And so the tendency for our politicians to attempt to make every criminal issue that is being dealt with political is the reason why we're here. It is the reason why most of the people who are behind this Galamsey are either in the NDC or are associating themselves with the NDC or the MPP, because they will easily run and go and cry out that they are being persecuted. So far as I'm concerned, this is a 2022 all case that should have been prosecuted by the MPP when they were in power.
Right.
And so if that is being done now, yes, if they think anything is not being done right, they should be able to point it out. But it is not about abandoning their work in parliament and making this a political issue. It is not a political issue. It's a criminal issue. It has to be dealt with. The state, in dealing with it, has to also ensure that the human rights of all of the people are respected. And also, the state should also make sure that they should not care whose ass is God. The NDC people who have been named, we also should be hearing them, dragging them the same way that other MPP people, as I've said to you, under the Professor Frimpong Watting, that also need to be dealt with, and everybody has to be dealt with.
Dr. Ashiwe, as always, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we are wrapping up. Let me take you back to the Iyoko head office, and let me wrap up with my colleagues, James Aveji and Koko Asante, who have been there since the start of this blockade by the MPP minority group. So, James and Kwaku, if you can hear me, as we wrap up, one more, can you say, are the people still holding on to their grounds that they will stay there until they get answers to their questions?
Well, Elton, as we speak, the people are still here. and the numbers are growing. Honorable Frank Anodom there addressing the party supporters there, giving some word to them. I've been trying pretty hard to see if I can get what he's been saying to the party members, and then I'll give you a rundown to what has happened so far since we've been around.
Bail time is no. You go for one more time. And yes, I'm in a court in a court among bail time. On one of your pay. Bail time on what the man on for a very long time and team people that. I wait till I've been born here day. I want to. And then I come. I sir. Oh, more tight your party for. Yeah, come on, Era Mahama, His Excellency, episode TSS. On to me, no, your party for we. Ghana is a democracy. Ghana is a democracy. Yeah, practicing democracy. Nigeria say, I'm co opposition, yes, any of the yomo. And you say any of the yomo. And it was your for Obia Gutani Gidiamu. Yaba ko parliament akoko fa adwene de besi ochene bia ne be mo maswate but me kan ye de ntoma ebom de anu aka ne pefe se enya de obia baba ye ne ho boto emom de hunahuna de ayedan ahye mu ye mpanifo pargrant akwajai obecha bi lamte eni mpanifo aba akọ asum party and the tradition ade ba akọ edi twa ye fruma eni se ye gina ho ema periperi ye Yejina, Emma Tintre, Yejama Kudro, and Yejina Mosa, Nipa Fa who dear Yentia so. Miss Ramon to be a good Gidiamu, and I'm by Kudra Madame Diache, Ama in Crashire Day, Abba. And now we shall MPC in Abba. Ye Baba free Alco Parliament Alco Fagini. So Ochna. Say antia some debia, you betting Tesukoko at your chair, Roger Mahaman. Yes. On my ear, in I am I. Dear said, you Roger Mahaman and the Kumo. And it's all wanted to Petro Bosso. And to question you about from an inch. No one yet, Jumadin, I did. I want to be Bregana for. Now, I want to be Unyamasu Kashri. Nobody unahuna and edisha Ghana for emu. Tima mikasa ngwano. Bedamwase. Nama koswara sremos. Sabu kita mu GDM. General Secretary wa hanamo. Obeka bibi kakra. Yebia ebeko parliament. Die be sibia no yebe mama nswante. Twa maniaba.
So Elton, that is the minority whip Frank Anodom there. Who's been addressing them. He's indicating, urging the party members to keep on their hope, to hope for faith. Let's listen to the General Secretary of the party, Justin Frimpong Kodia.
Normal, El Coso, our Yoko officer. We are seeing in our Eshe. A baby man penny for Eshe. Sabi Ghana, my Yobia Eshe. Sabi MPP and your for. O man penny Mahama. And your coup, and other better man. So, yes. Ghana for the 2 Abamao, and I'll buy it. And that's what I buy, and I won't have. Adia, and this is for a year. Sabi and Roma Bonnie or my banny and Opus or Mokataso. Kokaya, a one memoir, who I per se can was and Opus or Mokataso. Private jet or Makohaya or Modi Kwagana for another quad butcher and was some or per se become. And now, and this is for Mutu Galam say or Musay Sono or per se become was them. Wontumi chia matching in no person or Muji Ghana for adwene efu no ma bonia ekoso ma momonso na ye catch omo MPP ya pempem ukuma pima abembeba enya dia NDC aban Yera Mahama obetima ka ye kasa aboa hye yam ena dia koso wa ha no we dia kokobo keke ya manati asese Sabi omuntimi nka ya no ntum omam ha Sabi enya ne pabone sem enya wudi sem a udo obi akọhye wo ho more than 48 hours. Abraham ran a chest Wontumi for being show Kuko more than 48 hours. Wapayanti a person in the show. Also, I call for a dear property. I have 50 million Ghana cedis. It is 500 billion. More among 50 million Ghana cedis. What do I send our Ghana among 50 million cedis? Yeah, will be that. And now, sir, only Mr. Okasa Buona, a bad dancer with my coffee Abba. And decide ya Unaya. About them 2 days, 3 days, 1 week. All person of them, sir. Sir, I did not condition now can share surety 50 million and idea the Babane and the Babachna. And illegal. Every said Domo can a Pabone, a Jum Bonnet, Susan Bonnet, Wonam Bonnet, and Tomokas Asemno. And let's share Shemuha, Central for Muha, Munina Munti, Momo Bia Hundia Coso. Sabi or Casabia can say a Mero Yaninkaso. A do 4 years so, a do 8 years so, a band assessor. Now what's here? Now what can say? And this year, man, was so. And the champion before BB, your champion before Masama. Sabi, a Chinawa Bansuko position. Yes. Now, a man band, your person at Tituaha. It's a Nadia cost in the central for Mundia dance here. Mundia dance here, said Snabino, a band necessary. Let me say, Koswa, Mamma Becassa before Timothy. Yes. Every said Ghana, I am right and a year more Ghana. Sabi Wontumi on Kunipa. Wontumi on Kokunipa. Sabi Obi Kunipa cried money bill. Yes. Until Sabaka seminary when you crow. Then I want to hear Abraham Tom Saffron, police for Tony Saffron, one call. I did see a Mocasa Wamba Wamba. Say, Empomua seminar Besam on the car, but my family council. Obetima from Rakwanso about Bacanasem, as more comes and Thomas, what in the court, what the court about the different. And now say, and this names of Ninja so Papa Bianti, or more person of court. Say, I want to know Bonia. More prepared charges and young court, young court defending your war. And not to trust them, Kakaben some, our Moyana, our Yoko. Yabamu Buddha. Oh, young people, Nibiana, Memo Abamu. We will never lose up. Jana Namo Jabi down Monqua and the 2 of my party. And now, yes, we are doing so. And people soon, no want to know people soon. No, we are the watcher. The show crying. Then you want to me, mother. You better not, you better not, and now you're Bokoko. It's not about 2 to Suko. It's not about 2 to Suko. Sabia, Mamma so Chroma, Obinia Bama so Biawa. Now, dear Cosmo, it's not about 2 to Suko, Madame.
And so there you have it. The General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Frimpong Kodia, who arrived here just a while ago, about some 20 minutes ago, addressing the party supporters here at the Yoko head office. Before him was Honorable Jerry, and then followed by the minority leader, the minority whip actually, Frank Anodompre, and then the General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodia. Essentially, on the main issue at stake about the bail conditions, he has been indicating that they will not fulfill the bail conditions today or fulfill that tomorrow, which is the latest indication we are getting, showing that the minority does not think that the Honorable Chairman Wontumi should fulfill the bail condition. What they want is the Yoko to release him at all costs, regardless of what the situation is. And so that's what they've been saying. They say what we've seen today is nothing, and that they would do more than we have seen today. We will be waiting to know what exactly they will be up to tomorrow. But you see them in your shots, they're holding hands, all of them holding hands in a way to match, sort of. And so we're waiting to know what exactly they are up to, if they are retiring for the day or not. But the indication Honorable Frank Anodompre gives is that they will go back to Parliament to re-strategize and come back tomorrow stronger. You see them, you hear them there singing the anthem, the Ghana national anthem as well.
And make a nation strong. We are all, we are all, we are all evolved. We are all evolved. And built in the fatherland. Yeah, family Smith, what? Family Smith, the new routine in your heart. We are all evolved. And built in the fatherland. Hey! Hey! Hey!
So they have finished singing the anthem, and it looks like the MPs may be leaving the scene now. That's the indication we're getting.
No intimidation.
Where your phone? Right now, where your phone?
I know be this one.
No.
Yeah, Sarah.
They go. No, they go.
Maybe a smartphone or yeah.
I was even using the. Right now, I check the online feed. How far? Just still on.
Joy News, and of course on Joy News Prime. What you are watching is live footage from the office of the Yoko. Darkness is falling, but the minority MPs are very much far away from home because they are demanding the release of the Ashanti Regional Chair of the party, Vendetta, also known as Chairman Wontumi. They did not get what they came for. They say they are going back to Parliament to re-strategize and then, announce their next line of action. We don't know what that will constitute, but what is clear is that Chairman Wontumi is not in the Yoko building. He is, according to his lawyers, receiving medical treatment at a medical facility, and they are working around to get him to meet the bail condition. And of course, this is a matter that has been ongoing since 2:40 p.m. today. My colleague, Samuel Kojo-Brace, is joining me in the studio as we continue our live coverage of this very important program. Kojo, so, I heard you on Top Story.
Yeah.
This matter is not ending anytime soon.
No.
The minorities said they are going back to Parliament to re-strategize and then announce their next line of action.
Yeah. We spoke to the national organizer of the party who is still contending that if you look at the conditions they've given him, then the EOCO, working in tandem with the government, wants to keep the man in detention, and that's why they've given him such conditions. What they are looking out for, we don't know what will happen, whether the EOCO will listen to them. But if you listen to Henry Nanabuachi, he says the president is aware of what's happening, and that's why he is worried the president will let them use such tactics to keep him, in detention. So it's quite a developing story, which we don't know when it will end. Because if you listen to the minority, and they also seem to say, if you are calling for justification, when we present a land or a house, it has to come with valuation document.
Right.
And that is the onerous task that they think that then culminate in the same conclusion that you really want to keep the man there because it's been more than 48 hours.
Yeah, because from what I've been told, even if you want to go and verify a landed property, it will take you 2 weeks before you get a result from the Lands Commission.
Yes, that's their concern. So they feel that they are doing all of this just because they want to show, so they term it in their own word, a show of bravado. That's what they, so they feel that they want to show him where power lies, because the argument is the man himself came to the CID, on his own volition. So why would you do that to a man who's not a flight risk? And it's quite interesting. You see them there. We think that, as you said, they have already announced that they will be going home to come back to, they are going to Parliament to re-strategize. We'll see what happens. But we are still there at the EOCO headquarters to give you all that is happening up to the minute update on what's happening, because our cameras are there, our men are there, just to ensure that you don't miss out on any, of what is happening. So you can count on Joy News as we try to bring you this particular, coverage of the detention of Chairman Wontumi and what the NPP is making of it, what the minority is making of it, and the search for Wontumi, as the party puts it, is still on, and the search for meeting the bail conditions is still on. But they are questioning the essence of, the sort of conditions they've given Chairman Wontumi. And they've been arguing that if you look at the conditions they've given him, if it had been 15 million alone, they could have met it. But to ask for justification, they are not citing that the people are behaving out of the law, but they are only saying that if you ask them to justify every property they bring, that is going to take several days. And that's why they feel that it is the intention of EOCO and government to keep Chairman Wontumi, in detention. As you see on your screens, party members, supporters are still gathered at the frontage of EOCO. They are not moving an inch, even though the members of Parliament have started to, go back to Parliament to tell us what they will do next. But the members are still there. I saw the General Secretary earlier, Henry Nanabuachi, who is the national organizer, had been there. Our men are still there, so they will tell us who of the national executives are still at the frontage of EOCO. It's quite an interesting, period. You won't know what can happen next. So We don't know what these members will do. They are sitting on chairs there. You see some of them standing and conversing amongst themselves. Some people have parked their motorbikes. Some have come to park their cars. It looks like they are not ready to leave now. But in the next few minutes, we would understand what it is. We see somebody parking chairs. It could signify that the members or the supporters will also believe, okay, so a police officer is there to command or to direct that they leave the road and go onto the median. Probably that is why they are parking the chairs from the road. But our reporters will be joining us to tell us exactly what is the reason for what we see on your screens now and what exactly is happening there, just beyond the fact that we see people standing and conversing amongst themselves. Well, our cameras are there and we'll be telling you exactly what is happening. You need to, count on us as we bring you on an undiluted coverage of this whole, episode happening in the frontage or at the frontage of Iyoko. But let's look at the security implications and how the security officers can really manage what's happening. Richard Kumado is a security analyst, and he joins us via Zoom with more. Richard, it's been quite some time since we spoke, but what do you make of what's happening at the frontage of Iyoko?
Yeah, where do I start from? Yeah, people decided to gather to demand a release of our big brother Wontumi. I think he has been appropriately charged by Iyoko. It is the responsibility of his lawyers to get to court and ask for the bill to be reviewed, considering the fact that a precedent has been set recently in the SkyTrain case. The bill terms has been reviewed, and I think that would have been the appropriate conditions or the appropriate reasonable step for the minority. Then again, they could have also have some level of agreement with the investigators in charge of this particular case. To the extent that they decide to demonstrate or to amass themselves in front of Iyoko, it's my hope and prayer that the police will do whatever it takes so that people will not use darkness to harm any of them.
All right. But if you look at how the members are gathered there, even though, the right thing for the MPs and the party to do is to go to court, but what will you recommend the police to do in terms of handling the supporters who are still gathered at the frontage of Iyoko?
I think we are creating a premise where my only concern and challenge is that if care is not taken, we might have a standoff between police and civilians and political party supporters. And there could be casualties on both sides. What law enforcement officers do, they operate within regimes and they are mindful of the fact that the outcomes of their jobs could be litigated in court or could be fiercely criticized or scrutinized. Okay. In that regard, in a democracy where rule of law is key and the right of citizens will have to be respected, I think what we are seeing in recent times is that civilians are creating all manner of problems for law enforcement officers, and they are stretching the limit of the law enforcement officers. And it is better we do something about it. Other than that, there could be a standoff and there could be huge casualties on both sides. Remember where we borrow this democracy from and where the rule of law is what we sing all over. Once individuals or groups are seen as to be interfering with law enforcement operations and trying to dictate the pace, you have committed a crime and you could be arrested. The Public Author Act of Ghana specifically states some of these things. And to the extent that we keep overlooking them, we are creating the premises where protecting the state and law enforcement officers doing what they have been trained to do becomes a little bit difficult, and there could be vulnerabilities and there could be consequences for everybody.
But if you look at how the supporters have conducted themselves and how the police have conducted themselves, you haven't seen that confrontation between the two sides. Does it still hold that a certain, in quote, bad precedent is being set?
Yeah, definitely. It's my prayer that we'll continue to engage in the manner they have done so far so that it doesn't lead to confrontation and so much antagonism that always divides us as a nation or as a people. if there's provocation from both sides, it could create a problem, particularly when you have law enforcement officers who think the authority is being challenged by civilians, and particularly when they have not breached any of the standard rules for proper law enforcement criteria, then I think we might be stretching the argument a little bit too far. And let's hope that they provide security for our brothers and sisters who have gathered at the place, and nobody should harm them under the disguise of darkness. But then again, the reasonable thing to do, in line with proper reasoning and in line with being law-abiding citizens, is not to gather. If the onus is on your lawyers to go to court to review the bail terms, and because Yoko has officially charged you, and the crimes for which you have been charged are clearly stated to you, and that should be the rightful thing to do, and the law must take its course.
But doesn't then that fit into the whole allegation by the MPP that this is a grand scheme to show Wontumi where power lies? Because if you've arrested a person over 48 hours, and now the lawyers have to go to court, it will take some days. Within all of those days, Wontumi will still be in the custody of the EOCO. And they say that is you telling us that you are in control now, and you can use the power to do whatever you can.
Are you speaking for the MPP? If you are not speaking for the MPP,
that is why I said, doesn't it feed into the allegation by the MPP?
No, Gojo, what is the allegation here? Yoko has charged you. You have come under crime investigation. You have become a person of public interest. You have become a person of national security interest. You have become a person who has come under some level of crime investigation interest. You have been charged, and we are mindful of the 48 hours. So even before the 48 hours, you have been charged, and your lawyers asked for a bail, and we place the bail amount there. It is not for nothing at all that certain amounts are quoted in relation to particular crimes under investigation. And that is why you realize that it's not the same amount that is being quoted everywhere, because there are no standardizations in relation to that. It depends on the nature of the crime under investigation, the nature of the individual, the circumstances under which you have been arrested. And to that extent, now the onus is on your lawyers and not the Yoko guys. The onus is on your lawyers to go to court and review the bill if they think they cannot fulfill it. Other than that, you not fulfilling the bill and spending over 48 hours there cannot be the responsibility of the investigators, but it's rather lack of accountability on the side of the lawyers. Because I just told you, a precedent has been set where similar thing happened in the case of our brother who was charged in the SkyTrain case. And they went to court and the bill terms were reviewed. I think we need to be seen to be setting good precedents since governance is a continuous process. But this level of bravado and breaking the law and amassing people in front of Yoko, ask yourself, they have been there for many days, many hours now. Do you think their gathering there will let Yoko release our big brother Wontumi? What will let Wontumi go home is one, when there's an agreement between the investigators and the lawyers. And number two, the lawyers have gone to court in collaboration with the Attorney General to review the bail terms. And once you meet the bail terms, then you are let to go home. And that is what is done all over the world. And that is a standard procedure.
So you feel that the MPP is doing, what the MPP is doing is much ado about nothing?
And I don't speak for the MPP and I don't speak for politicians.
No, I'm not asking you to speak for them. I'm only asking you based on what you said. That what you said, does it then mean that what they are doing is much ado about nothing?
Yeah, I've just told you the standard procedure, and I create awareness and I offer alternative source of reasoning, and I tell you the best practice. And the best practice is what I've explained. So look at their behavior in line with the best practice and the precedents we just set in this year, and what is the standard procedure in terms of public education. And you will see the flaws in some of the arguments and the bad behavior we are seeing out there. I think it's a high level of absurdity.
Okay, you just don't want to use the word much ado about nothing, but that's fine. So tonight, as the minority receipt to Parliament, your advice will be for the supporters to follow suit, right?
I think this Parliament, this leadership and their actions since the beginning of the year is something that needs to be of concern to the Speaker of Parliament. This particular leadership of Parliament, their behavior, their attitude, their actions, their comments, and many of the things they have done, I think it should be of concern to the Speaker of the House.
Do you mean the leadership of the minority or Parliament?
Both of them, particularly the minority.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay.
You have the majority and the minority. But I'm saying that this Parliament, the leadership of both sides, particularly the minority, I think their actions and conduct should be of concern to the Speaker. And I wasn't surprised when yesterday the Speaker was making, or 2 days ago, he was making the point clear that they have privileges. And he wouldn't allow law enforcement officers to abuse anybody, particularly when they are parliamentarians. But they should not also abuse the privileges. And their privileges only pertains to what happens in Parliament. But this year, 2025, when they start sitting, the leadership of this Parliament, their conduct and their actions and many of the things that happened during the vetting and the overflow into the street, I think it should be of concern to the Speaker of Parliament, and it should be of concern to all reasonable persons in this country. We have seen parliaments before, but this particular one, I think their issues are becoming too many. Their actions are being challenged, and they must rise above pettiness and ensure that conduct is reasonable and it falls within somebody who is expected to be called honorable.
Just because they speak up against what they think is injustice, does it then amount to them not being people who deserve the title honorable?
No, really. I spoke about the conduct in the House, the conduct at the vetting committee, then the excesses we are seeing in the street. You will be doing the right thing wrongly, and you might be right, but once your conduct and action is wrong, then you are setting a bad precedence and example because you are the highest levels of decision making, and that is why you enjoy the title honorable in the first place. I don't think many of these things they are doing conform to that honorable status.
Okay. So for you, you don't expect anything to change until they go to court to get the bill terms either reviewed downwards or they meet it?
No, I think I also said that they can have agreement with the investigators.
Okay.
That is another option. And I don't know why they failed or they refused to exploit that particular option. And once that is done, he could be seen in his house or he could be on his way out. But once he amounts there, then it becomes confrontational against the law. And we are talking about democracy where rule of law, accountability, personal or collective responsibility is key. These are the three things that sustains all democracies in the world. And when the Scotland Yard or MI5, MI6 in London said, you have come under investigation, and there are questions for you to answer, you do not dictate the pace for law enforcement agencies. Your freedom could be curtailed, and your number of days with them could also be prolonged. Okay. Particularly in America, where we borrow this democracy from. So you know that when they stop you or you have come under crime investigations, they don't behave the way we are behaving. You would have been shot dead. So that the point I'm making is that we are taking the leniency of our law enforcement agencies to be a weakness. And the way we come very antagonizing and very confrontational, let's hope and pray that one day it may not lead to a situation where there could be, confrontations and there could be crashes and there could be casualties on both sides. And that is what I pray against.
Okay. Do you think the police or the security forces can do anything to prevent that, to sort of reduce the rate at which people would gather at a place just because they disagree with the law enforcement agencies doing their work?
Now, I think they need to be arresting people who flouted the laws. Politicians who call people to amass, politicians who lead to obstruct or to interfere in law enforcement operations. When those operations are official, they are breaking the law, and the criminal code speaks to that. And I think the law enforcement officers will start arresting them and begin to prosecute them. And that is a standard procedure in every law enforcement environment. Until we are able to do that, you have certain people who portray to be living above the law, and they run down law enforcement orders, and that may create problems for the state. And the peace of communities could be disturbed. If you look at the location of Yoko, you have Supreme Court at the other side, you have Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, and you have the hockey court, and you have the commercial activities working around that whole place. It might not be a security zone, but it's a sensitive zone. And gathering of people and activities and obstruction of some level of activities, I think it's unnecessary and it's not needful. And law enforcement officers must begin to apply the law broadly in line with standard procedure. And that will be the only way to deter people from amassing themselves. Other than that, they can also use public education and create awareness. Besides that, they don't have control and they don't have power over people gathering. The only control they have is to ensure that it doesn't degenerate into chaos and it doesn't lead to confrontations unnecessarily.
Richard Kumado is a security analyst and he will still be staying with us here. But it's 6:33. What's happening at the frontage of Iyoko now? My colleague James Aveji is still there and he's joining me now with what's happening there. James, what more can you tell us? So James Aveji is he will be bringing us up to speed on what is happening there. We want you to understand and know whatever is happening at Iyoko. Okay, James is ready now. James, take it away and tell us what's happening.
The leader, Alexander Penyu, marking together with his deputy, minority leader, Patricia P.J., the general secretary of the party, Justin Frimpong Kodua, was also here at around 5 p.m., where he, together with the minority whip, Frank Anodompre and Jerry Ahmed, have addressed the party supporters. The message from them, especially from Frank Anodompre, has been clear that they will not allow the lawyers of Chairman Wontumi to satisfy the 50 million Ghana cedi bail condition with 2 sureties. They will not allow them to meet it today nor meet it tomorrow. What they are demanding is that the Iyoko release Chairman Wontumi from their custody while the investigations continue. And so their promise is that they are going back to Parliament to plan properly and come back tomorrow. And so tomorrow we have another perhaps walk from Parliament to the Iyoko premises on our hands, where they would be sitting on the floor as we saw today. Just a recap, from the morning, the indication we got is that Chairman Wontumi had been sent to the hospital to continue treatment. And then in the afternoon, by midday, we got a confirmation that one of the surety has been met, and so the lawyers are working around the clock to meet the second surety. Then by 3 p.m., we got an indication from Parliament, 2:30 thereabout, we got an indication from Parliament that the minority has staged a walkout from the floor of the chamber to stage their grievances about what is happening. By 3 p.m., they were all here, led by Honorable Alexander Penyu Markin. Where they came, they marched straight to the front of Iyoko, as we see here. And then they all sat on the floor of the Iyoko, chanting their party anthem as well as the national anthem, all demanding to meet the Director General of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, Iyoko, Raymond Archer, who they have been told is not present, was not present in office. For which reason they decided to stay on until they meet him. The clear indication they gave us at the time is that they are not moving an inch until he comes to take a word from them. Only for us about 6 p.m. now for them to announce to us that they are retiring to the floor, back to Parliament, and they would be back here tomorrow to continue with the protest. And so, as you see behind me, a number of the police vehicles are still here. You see, I can count about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 police vehicles are still here. 1 FPU armored vehicle, as well as 1 water cannon at the other side. There is another water cannon at the far end there, giving us 2 water cannons as well as police patrol vehicles. A number of the police officers are also standing there, still at the entrance of the Iyoko office, maintaining law and order. Kwekwa Sante is still here, I'm sure you'll be going to Parliament tomorrow to go and monitor what happens. It is now unclear whether the minority will go back to the floor of Parliament tomorrow morning before they come here, or they will all come here straight from their various home. But I can confirm to you now that the minority members of Parliament have left now. They have retired from the day's activity, promising to come back tomorrow. The entire road on the two stretches had been blocked from about 3 p.m. when they arrived here. The road has been opened to traffic now. And so for all motorists who use the Tamils High Street towards the AM area, the road is free now for traffic. And this has been the activities that has happened in the course of the day. We have got the confirmation now from lawyers of Chairman Wontumi that as far as today is concerned, they have not been able to meet the second surety for Chairman Wontumi to get his freedom. And so we can only assume from what we have seen so far that Chairman Wontumi is still in the custody of the Ioko, while the lawyers make another attempt tomorrow to see if they can grant him, meet the bail conditions to grant him bail, Brace.
Quite an interesting, day there. But I guess we still do have a lot more people gathered there. You heard James there telling us how the party supporters have been there throughout the day. Would see whether or not by close of day there will still be some there. Now the leadership has left, so it's natural that the supporters will also leave. But you can see some other people there. Will bring you that update whether or not you still have party supporters there. But I still have Richard Kumado with me. Richard, so you've seen how the place has become now. The supporters have started leaving. Parliament, the members of Parliament who came have left already. Is this what you expected? That indeed, by close of day, everybody will leave Yoko so that Yoko can do their work?
I think there might be some scores of people around.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
We plead with the police to keep an eye so that nobody harms them under the pretext of darkness. We are a country that is sharply divided. You have all manner of persons who have become predacious, and you cannot trust the behavior and the character of certain people. So the police have a duty and responsibility and a duty of care towards protecting lives and property. And they should not just protect the property of Yoko and the people who work there, but they should also keep an eye on our brothers and sisters who might want to hang around to see what happens. And that's the way to go.
Okay. But in general, what's your assessment of how the security services have gone about this particular, happening today?
No, I don't think we have heard any bad news or any misconduct. Levels of professionalism have been high. And when we talk of professionalism, we are talking about both conduct and action. And we haven't heard anything from the journalists saying that any of them has misconduct themselves. And I think it's a plus for them. They should keep it up. Having said that, these levels of antagonism and confrontation will need to be watched. And law enforcement officers are performing their duties. We need to act in a manner that do not breach their limit. Other than that, they may create a number of difficulties for certain people who might be civilian.
Okay. I'm grateful to you, Richard Kumado, for joining us. He is a security analyst. Let me bring in now a political scientist, Dr. Kwame Asante. Doc, grateful for joining. You've been a watcher of our political space and how our democracy is developing. What do you make of what has been happening at the EOCO office since Monday? I mean, I should say since Tuesday.
Well, I think now we're at the level of, investigation. And the little I know, I'm not a lawyer, that there are processes you need to go through and you should go through. If at a point in time you feel that the process is shortchanged, then you have every right to seek redress in courts. And that is the spirit behind any democratic enterprise.
So by that, you mean the minority, instead of going there today, abandoning the work in Parliament, should have rather resorted to court, right?
Normally, MPs have tactics that they employ, strategies they employ in Parliament anytime there's an issue. And one of it is what they are doing. And when their colleagues, some of them, or an individual is affected, you see them employing such a strategy so as to lend their support and all that. But it has its own downsides because a major decision could be taken in Parliament whilst you are away. If you were there, you could have made an input and that could change the direction, the focus of whatever decision. So there's a price to pay in that regard. But obviously, there's also a certain political capital that you are solidarizing with your colleague and you are sending a clear message to the party supporters that this is a tradition, that when you are in difficulty, you have a helping hand, and that's it. But it doesn't take away the process that one needs to go through when you are in that tango, and then what you need to observe and all that. But remember, they cannot absent themselves from Parliament for a number of days. So they can undertake this exercise for a number of days by boycotting Parliament. But definitely, they are aware that when they do that, the clock will be ticking, and that when it gets to a number of days, they have to come back. So these are some of the strategies and all that. But sometimes it has its own downside, which I've already said.
But can't it also be that they will show up in Parliament for them to be captured as having attended Parliament? Then they leave to go and do whatever they want to, just to protest what is happening to their colleague member.
Oh, they are very much experienced, and I have no doubt in my mind that they can resort to that. But I'm saying that there's a price you pay for that, giving certain activities and other, and more so when your strength as a minority is somehow weak in Parliament. You want to be present so as not to be overtaken by events. So they know how to play the cards. They are experienced people, but we are also watching closely.
But how does this, or what does this mean for our democracy, which is still in the growing stages?
Oh, democracy is anchored on rule of law. And rule of law, you and I know, has two components: equality before the law and due process. That every human being is equal before the law. And that due process is any decision you take within the state should reflect the laws of the land. So when these two are working, democracy has been strengthened. If there are problems, then there's a need to work on it quickly. But all of us, we owe it to ourselves and to our country to defend the frontiers of democracy, making sure that none of these ingredients falls out of our hands, and that we are prepared to defend it. That is the work of every human being who lives in a democracy. So once these two are working and they've not been breached, then we move on. But remember, with the human society, people breach them anytime. But the good news about it is that there's a way to correct them.
But I mean, people argue that instead of them boycotting Parliament to come and sit down on the road as we saw them, they could have gone to court to make their case out and get the bail conditions reviewed. I mean, what do you make of those sentiments and in the sphere of developing our democracy, that we're operating under the rule of law, you have the right to do whatever? If you look at what they did and the question of why don't you go to court, how do you see it?
You see, lawyers are always masters of their own game. So when they take a decision, don't take it lightly. There is always something ahead. They are aware of all these things. They weigh the options that will best give them the best of results to win political capital and score a certain point within the political sphere. And of course, get their man out. So they weigh all these options. And the things that will weigh against them, I tell you, they will beat a retreat in no time.
Okay. So you mean if they don't get Wontumi out, they will stop what they're doing?
Well, I don't know what is in their mind. I am only thinking as to what strategy that they will employ. But I tell you, these are experienced lawyers, experienced politicians, experienced MPs, so they know what to do. So don't take it for granted that, oh, they have not triggered a certain process and all that. They could do that the next day or two. You will never know. But some, by which time, they have also sent a message to the public that this is what is happening and that do you think it's fair and all that. All of these things, there are certain political calculations that the political elites within them are thinking and playing the cards according to plan.
Can this bring any impact? They are gathering there at the IOCO head office. You've watched this space for quite some time. In the next 1 minute, do you think
Obviously,
this can bring any
there's
impact?
going to be impact. You saw the mass up there. You are sending a message. You see, in political science, these are issues, things of this demonstration, sit down, walk out and all that. They are forms of what? Means by which people can register protest, public opinion tools. So you can go mass up at a place. People want to know what is happening. You are selling your message one way or the other. Whether it's right or wrong, that is not the issue. The issue is that you are sending a message and it will get to the minds of some people. At the end of the day, you win the hearts and minds of some people. Obviously, some people will say that, look, they can read in between the lines and then make a decision and then inform themselves as well as their relations. But all in all, you will get some people who will be on your side, and that is the spirit, so that you are guided by the fact that democracy or politics for that matter is a game of numbers. So even one person listen to you and all that, there is a multiplying effect if the person go out to churn out the information and all that. So they weigh all these things. And I tell you, they don't do it for fun at all. To come and sit at Yoko for 3 hours and you think they don't know what they are doing. Oh no, they come, go out, beat a retreat, re-strategize and all that. And at the end of the day, they will achieve some level of this. For me, when all these things happen, I have no problem, provided it is conducted within the framework of the law. Then democracy is at peace. Okay. But when people want to resort to a process that will undermine the legal regime, then obviously it raises eyebrow. Okay. And obviously people will resist that.
Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining us here with your thought. This has been our special coverage of the happenings at the IOCO office, where the minority in parliament abandoned proceedings today and made their way to the frontage of IOCO, sat on the floor in protest of the detention of Chairman Wontumi. Call this the Joy News Eye on the IOCO headquarters, because we'll bring you more on Joy News Prime when we tell you exactly what is happening at the frontage of IOCO, where our cameras are set. So stay with us.